Here is the version of dog domestication you probably believe. Ancient humans found wolf puppies. They raised them. The wolves became tame. Tame wolves became dogs. That story is wrong. Not slightly wrong. Structurally wrong. It gets the direction of causation backwards. The actual story is stranger. And the wolves come out of it looking considerably smarter than we do. Start with when it happened, because even that is contested. The consensus placed dog domestication at around 15,000 years ago. Then genetic analysis arrived and complicated everything. Estimates ranging from 15,000 to 40,000 years ago. The honest answer is that we do not know exactly when it happened. Dogs did not descend from any wolf population that currently exists. The wolf lineage that gave rise to dogs is extinct. Here is the assumption that almost every popular account makes. Humans decided to domesticate wolves. Humans took the initiative. This is almost certainly not what happened. The more plausible model is that wolves domesticated themselves. Humans produce waste. Camps, kill sites, middens, everywhere humans congregated, there was food. Wolves that were bold enough to approach human camps but calm enough not to trigger a violent response had access to a reliable caloric resource that their more fearful or more aggressive counterparts did not. Over generations, the wolves that could tolerate proximity to humans ate more, survived better. Humans did not choose the wolves. The wolves chose the food. The food happened to come with humans attached. But that's not even the craziest part. The strongest evidence comes from an experiment that began in 1959 in Siberia. Dmitry Belayev was a Soviet geneticist who wanted to understand domestication. He started with silver foxes and applied a single selection criterion. Within 6 generations, the foxes were approaching humans voluntarily. Within 20, they were behaviorally indistinguishable from domestic dogs. They wagged their tails. They whimpered for attention. They made eye contact. Here is the part that nobody expected. Along with the behavioral changes came physical ones that nobody selected for. Floppy ears, curled tails, piebald coat patterns, shortened snouts. These physical traits are called the domestication syndrome, and they appear across every domesticated species: dogs, pigs, cattle, horses, rabbits. Select for calm. Get floppy ears. The genome does the rest. Here is the part of the story that gets left out. Domestication was not free for the wolves. Wild wolves have larger brains relative to body size than dogs do. A wolf presented with an unsolvable puzzle will work on it. A dog presented with the same puzzle will look at the human in the room. Dogs outsourced a portion of their problem solving to us. The trade was real on both sides. Life expectancy for domestic dogs in developed countries now routinely exceeds 15 years. Wild wolves rarely survive past 7. Here is what is genuinely strange about dog domestication. It changed us too. When a human and a dog make eye contact, both experience a spike in oxytocin. The same thing happens between human mothers and their infants. This is not a learned behavior. It is a hormonal response embedded in the physiology of both species. No other domesticated animal triggers this response. 2 separate species simultaneously. Here is the question the domestication story usually skips. Did it work in only one direction? Dogs became specialists in humans. They built an entire cognitive niche around understanding and manipulating human behavior. Dogs can distinguish human facial expressions. They follow human gaze. They respond to human pointing gestures in ways that chimpanzees cannot replicate without training. The whimper that gets food. The eye contact that triggers oxytocin. The lean against the leg that makes a person feel needed. These are not accidents. They are adaptations. Selected for because they worked, generation after generation, on an animal that responded to them by providing food and shelter and protection. Whether you call that domestication or parasitism or mutualism depends on your perspective. The wolves did not simply allow themselves to be domesticated. They figured out humans. And they have been running that particular strategy ever since. So how did humans domesticate wolves? Imprecisely. Accidentally. Over thousands of years of shared space and mutual adjustment, with neither party in conscious control of the outcome. The relationship selected itself into existence through pure consequence, with no designer and no plan. The dog looking at you from across the room is not a tamed wolf. It is the product of tens of thousands of years of coevolution, carrying the genetic signature of a wolf lineage that no longer exists, running behavioral software that was shaped by every human it ever needed something from. It is watching you the way its ancestors watched the first campfires. Calm enough to stay, smart enough to wait. The wolves did not let us domesticate them. They made themselves indispensable. There is a difference. And they understood it long before we did. Imprecisely. Accidentally. Over thousands of years of shared space. With neither party in conscious control of the outcome. The domestication syndrome did the physical work. The oxytocin loop did the emotional work. And somewhere in that process, two apex predators ended up neurologically dependent on each other, in a way that neither species had experienced with anything else. It is watching you the way its ancestors watched the first campfires. Calm enough to stay, smart enough to wait. The wolves did not let us domesticate them. They made themselves indispensable. There is a difference. And they understood it long before we did. Here is what the evidence actually shows. Humans have always been capable of organized lethal violence against other humans. What varies across time and place is not the capacity. It is the conditions that activate it, the institutions that suppress it, and the costs that make it more or less rational than the alternative. Agriculture did not create war. States did not create war. Ideology did not create war. What each of those things created was a different version of something that was already there, waiting at the edge of the lagoon 10,000 years ago, and probably long before. The bones are still being found. The number keeps getting pushed back. Whatever the final answer turns out to be, it will be older than we are comfortable with. So when did ancient humans first start fighting each other? The confirmed answer is at least 10,000 years ago, at a lagoon in Kenya, where 27 people were killed and left unburied, and forgotten for nearly 10 millennia until lake sediments gave them back. The probable answer is much longer. The honest position is that we do not know where the line is, and there may not be a line. Humans have always been capable of organized lethal violence. What varies across time and place is not the capacity. It is the conditions, the institutions that suppress it, and the costs that make it more or less rational than the alternative. Agriculture did not invent warfare. It industrialized it. The difference between a hunter-gatherer raid that kills 4 people and a Neolithic massacre that kills 27 is not a difference in kind. It is a difference in capacity. Here is a number that puts everything in perspective. In many pre-state societies, somewhere between 15 and 60% of adult male deaths were caused by violence. The 20th century killed approximately 1 to 2% of the global population through warfare. The 20th century, by this measure, was one of the least violent periods in human history relative to population. The prehistoric baseline was orders of magnitude worse. The state, for all its capacity for organized killing, also provided the one thing that reduced individual violence dramatically: a monopoly on force that made private raiding economically and physically suicidal.